On October 14, 1973, a new era in late-night television began. It was a time when the television landscape was evolving, and viewers were hungry for something fresh and different. The airwaves were dominated by familiar faces and predictable formats, but change was on the horizon. NBC premiered The Tomorrow Show, hosted by a relatively unknown journalist named Tom Snyder. Snyder, with his distinctive style and probing questions, was about to make a significant impact on the world of late-night TV. The show aired after The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, capturing a different kind of audience in the wee hours of the morning. While Carson's show was known for its humor and celebrity interviews, The Tomorrow Show offered something more substantial, appealing to viewers who craved deeper conversations and more serious topics. It was a time when late-night talk shows were still finding their footing. The format was still experimental, and there was room for innovation. Snyder's arrival signaled a departure from the traditional, light-hearted fare that dominated the airwaves. Snyder's arrival signaled a departure from the traditional light-hearted fare. He brought a new level of seriousness and depth to late-night television, challenging the status quo and pushing the boundaries of what a talk show could be. The Tomorrow Show promised something different, something bolder. It was a show that dared to be different, offering viewers a chance to engage with topics that were often overlooked or ignored by other programs. The show's time slot was unconventional, to say the least. Airing from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., it was a time when most of America was sound asleep. Yet, for those who stayed up, it became a nightly ritual, a chance to explore the world from a different perspective. It aired from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., a time when most of America was sound asleep. But for the insomniacs, the night owls, and the curious minds, it was a beacon of light in the darkness, offering a unique blend of news, interviews, and cultural commentary. But Snyder, with his gravelly voice and intense gaze, was determined to keep viewers awake and engaged. His interviewing style was unlike anything seen before, combining a journalist's rigor with a conversational ease that put his guests at ease. He wasn't afraid to tackle controversial topics. From politics to social issues, Snyder delved into subjects that were often considered taboo for television. His willingness to confront difficult issues head-on made The Tomorrow Show a must-watch for those seeking more than just entertainment. He wasn't afraid to ask tough questions. Snyder's interviews were known for their depth and intensity, often leaving his guests both challenged and enlightened. His ability to draw out candid responses made for compelling television, and he wasn't afraid to let his guests speak their minds. The Tomorrow Show became a platform for open and honest dialogue, where guests could share their thoughts and opinions without fear of censorship or judgment. The world was a different place in 1973. It was a time of great change and upheaval, both in the United States and around the world. The Vietnam War was winding down. Watergate was unfolding. These events were shaping the national consciousness, and The Tomorrow Show provided a space to discuss and dissect them. And the sexual revolution was in full swing. The show didn't shy away from these topics, instead embracing them and providing a forum for discussion and debate. The Tomorrow Show became a platform for discussing these issues and more, offering a glimpse into the minds of newsmakers, celebrities, and everyday people caught in the currents of history. It was a show that reflected the anxieties and uncertainties of the time, but also its energy and its hope for the future. It was a show that reflected the anxieties and uncertainties of the time, but also its energy and its hope for the future. The Tomorrow Show was more than just a talk show. It was a cultural touchstone, a mirror reflecting the complexities of a changing world. Through its bold approach and fearless host, it left an indelible mark on the landscape of late-night television, paving the way for future generations of talk shows and hosts who would continue to push the boundaries and challenge the status quo. The Tomorrow Show distinguished itself from other late-night programs with its distinctive format. Unlike the typical late-night shows that audiences were accustomed to, The Tomorrow Show offered something refreshingly different. Unlike the traditional talk show model, which relied heavily on comedy skits and musical performances to keep the audience entertained and engaged, The Tomorrow Show took a different approach. The Tomorrow Show focused on in-depth conversations. Tom Snyder, the host, was known for his ability to draw out thoughtful and often profound insights from his guests. Snyder eschewed the typical talk show desk and opted for a more intimate setting. This choice was deliberate, aiming to break down the barriers between the host and the guest, fostering a more genuine connection. He and his guests sat in comfortable chairs, creating a relaxed atmosphere conducive to meaningful dialogue. This setup allowed guests to feel at ease, encouraging them to open up and share more candidly. The show's set design further enhanced its intimate feel. The cozy arrangement of the set made it seem less like a television studio and more like a private living room. The studio was dimly lit, with a backdrop of twinkling city lights that evoked a sense of late-night intimacy. This lighting choice was crucial in setting the mood for the show, making it feel like a quiet, reflective space. The overall effect was one of being invited into Snyder's living room for a private conversation. This unique atmosphere was a stark contrast to the often loud and flashy sets of other late-night shows. This departure from the brightly lit stages of other talk shows created a sense of immediacy and authenticity. Viewers felt as though they were eavesdropping on a genuine conversation rather than watching a rehearsed performance. Music played a minimal role in The Tomorrow Show. Unlike other shows that featured house bands to fill in the gaps and provide entertainment, The Tomorrow Show kept its focus on the dialogue. There was no house band, and musical guests were rare. This absence of musical interludes meant that there were fewer distractions, allowing the conversations to take center stage. Instead, the focus remained squarely on the conversation between Snyder and his guest. This allowed for a deeper exploration of the topics at hand, providing viewers with a richer and more engaging experience. This allowed for longer, more in-depth interviews that delved into the guest's personality, experiences, and perspectives. Guests were given the time and space to share their stories in a way that was rarely seen on other talk shows. The absence of musical interludes allowed viewers to fully immerse themselves in the conversation. Without the frequent interruptions of musical performances, the dialogue could flow more naturally and deeply. This minimalist approach extended to the show's humor. The humor on The Tomorrow Show was not forced or scripted. It emerged naturally from the interactions between Snyder and his guests. While Snyder was known for his quick wit, The Tomorrow Show was not a laugh-a-minute affair. The humor was subtle and often came in the form of clever observations or witty remarks. The humor emerged organically from the conversations, often in the form of Snyder's wry observations or his guests' self-deprecating anecdotes. This type of humor felt more genuine and relatable to the audience. This understated humor contributed to the show's authentic and engaging atmosphere. The Tomorrow Show stood out in the crowded late-night landscape by offering viewers a space for thoughtful, meaningful conversations, punctuated by moments of genuine humor. At the heart of The Tomorrow Show's success was its enigmatic host, Tom Snyder. Snyder was not just a television personality. He was a pioneer in the realm of late-night talk shows. His presence on screen was magnetic, drawing viewers in with his unique blend of charisma and intellect. Snyder possessed a unique interviewing style that set him apart from his contemporaries. Unlike many hosts who relied on scripted questions and rehearsed interactions, Snyder's approach was refreshingly spontaneous. He had an uncanny ability to make his guests feel at ease, creating an environment where genuine conversations could flourish. He was a master of active listening, genuinely interested in his guests and their stories. This wasn't just a technique, it was a reflection of his deep curiosity about the human experience. Snyder's interviews often felt more like intimate dialogues than formal Q&A sessions. He had a knack for asking the right questions, the kind that elicited thoughtful and revealing responses. His questions were never superficial. They were designed to peel back the layers of his guests' personas, revealing the true essence of their character and experiences. Unlike some interviewers who dominated the conversation, Snyder was content to let his guests speak their minds. He understood that the best interviews were those where the guest felt heard and valued. This approach allowed for a more organic and authentic exchange of ideas. He understood the power of silence, allowing pauses to linger and create a sense of intimacy. These moments of silence were not awkward, they were pregnant with meaning, giving both Snyder and his guests time to reflect and connect on a deeper level. He wasn't afraid to challenge his guests, but he always did so with respect. Snyder's challenges were never confrontational. They were invitations to explore different perspectives. This respectful yet probing style often led to some of the most enlightening and thought-provoking discussions on television. This approach resulted in some of the most candid and memorable interviews in television history. Whether he was speaking with a Hollywood star, a political figure, or an everyday person with an extraordinary story, Snyder's interviews were always compelling and insightful. Snyder's distinctive voice also played a role in his success. His voice was more than just a tool for communication. It was an instrument that conveyed emotion and gravitas. His deep, gravelly baritone exuded a sense of authority and authenticity. It was a voice that commanded attention, drawing listeners in and holding them captive with its rich, resonant tones. He spoke with a deliberate cadence, carefully choosing his words as if savoring their weight. Each word was measured, each sentence crafted to convey maximum impact. This careful attention to language added an extra layer of depth to his interviews. His voice, combined with his piercing blue eyes, commanded attention and drew viewers into the conversation. His eyes were not just a physical feature. They were a window into his soul, reflecting his genuine interest and empathy. But it was perhaps Snyder's ability to connect with his guests on a human level that truly set him apart. He had an innate ability to make his guests feel seen and understood, creating a bond that transcended the typical interviewer-interviewee dynamic. He wasn't afraid to show his own vulnerability, sharing personal anecdotes and opinions that made him relatable to viewers. This willingness to be open and honest created a sense of trust and authenticity that resonated with his audience. He treated his guests not as celebrities or newsmakers, but as fellow human beings with stories to tell. This approach fostered a sense of mutual respect and understanding, making each interview a unique and memorable experience. This genuine empathy resonated with audiences and made The Tomorrow Show appointment television for those seeking intelligent and engaging late-night entertainment. Snyder's legacy as a master interviewer and a compassionate human being continues to inspire and influence the world of television to this day.